From a young age, we're all taught that success is basically this ladder you have to climb, right? Get better grades, land a better job, get more recognition. But what if you get all the way to the top and realize the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall the whole time? What if real success isn't about climbing at all? Today, we're going to talk about a totally different way to look at success, one that's all about freedom and the power to live life on your own terms.
This quote from Christopher Morley just cuts right through all the noise. What he's saying is, maybe, just maybe, the ultimate prize isn't a fancy title or a bigger bank account. The one true success is the freedom to live your life in your own way. It's a pretty radical thought, isn't it? That the goal isn't to accumulate more stuff, but to gain more autonomy.
And that leads us to this really powerful concept, authorship. Instead of just following a script that society or your parents or your teachers wrote for you, success becomes the act of writing your own story. It's about being the author, choosing your own direction, marching your own beat. It's not about what you have, it's about who gets to call the shots.
Walt Whitman really gets to the heart of what this freedom feels like on the inside. His question isn't about anarchy or, rebelling against everything just for the sake of it. It's about achieving a kind of inner sovereignty. It's about not being ruled by what you think other people are thinking about you. This isn't just about external freedom, it's about an internal one, where your own soul is finally satisfied because it's in charge.
But, achieving that kind of freedom is not so simple. It means breaking away from one of the most powerful forces in our lives. So our first challenge is finding freedom from the crowd.
Just think about how true this is for a second. Society has this clear, well-lit path for everyone. If you follow that path and you fail, people give you sympathy. They'll say, oh well, at least you tried. But if you wander off that path and succeed, you might get a little nod. And if you fail, whoa, then you risk being called a fool. That pressure to just stick with the herd is absolutely immense. Because, let's be honest, safety feels a lot better than authenticity sometimes.
And here's the trade-off, laid out perfectly. On one side, you've got the safety of the herd, the approval of others, that respectable career path. But on the other side, the path of unconventional success that demands authentic choices. It demands a willingness to stand apart. And what do you get for it? Not approval, you get integrity. The price we so often pay for safety is our own authenticity.
So what's the antidote here? How do you actually break free? Well, as the investor Li Lu puts it, it really just comes down to courage. It's having the guts to trust your own insights, to believe in what you see even when nobody else does, and to ignore the opinions of everyone else. And this isn't about being arrogant. It's about having this deep-seated trust in your own internal compass.
And this is what that courage really looks like in practice. First, you've got to be okay with being misunderstood. People just won't always get what you're doing. Second, you have to risk rejection from the very same crowd you're stepping away from. But the reward for paying that price, the prize at the end of all that, is integrity. It's that quiet self-respect you get from living a life that is 100% your own. Okay, so we've talked all about breaking free from the crowd, but here's a huge pivot. What happens when you've won that battle, but you still don't feel free? What if the real prison isn't the external pressure at all? What if it's something inside of us?
And this brings us to the second, and honestly probably the harder freedom to win. This is all about gaining freedom from yourself, from your own endless cravings, your anxieties, and that relentless, nagging drive for more.
Man, William Irvine just nails it with this one. We've all been sold this lie, right? Achieve the goal, get the thing, and then you'll finally be happy. But as he points out, you can break free from the crowd and still be a total slave to your own desires. You can achieve everything you ever wanted and still feel empty, all because you never learned how to find satisfaction right where you are.
This is such a critical insight. When you don't examine your own desires, the constant pursuit of more becomes its own kind of prison. Every goal you hit just reveals another one, even further away. You might be free from other people's expectations, but now you're just trapped on a treadmill that you built yourself. The chase itself becomes the cage.
So the path to real lasting peace isn't about getting everything you want. It's about mastering desire itself. It's learning that rare and incredibly powerful art of wanting what you already have. Real freedom isn't found in having more, but in needing less.
So how do we put these two massive ideas together? What does it actually look like to live your own life, totally free from both the pressures on the outside and the ones on the inside?
It really all comes down to these two pillars. First, you need the courage to resist conformity and live by your own compass.
And second, you need the internal discipline to master your own desires and find peace right where you are. And you absolutely need both. Without the first one, you're just a follower. But without the second, you are captive to your own ambition.
And this brings us to our final, and I think most powerful, redefinition. This whole vision of success, it isn't about escaping the world or rejecting ambition entirely. It is about authorship. It's the active, conscious, and courageous act of shaping a life that actually aligns with your deepest values, and then living it without apology.
So we've kind of journeyed from those false ladders of conventional success to something much, much deeper. It's about a life that's lived from the inside out, where your inner world, your values, your peace, your integrity, that's what defines your success, not the other way around.
But redefining success like this leaves us with one last massive question. Once you've earned this freedom, once your life is truly your own, what are you going to do with it? What is all this freedom for? And that's the question that can turn success from just a personal victory into something so much bigger.